All right, let's jump right in. Today we're going to tackle a question that seems super simple, but it's really not. What's the actual difference between ethics and morals?
So yeah, let's just put it out there. Are ethics and morals basically the same thing? If you're kind of scratching your head right now, trust me, you are so not alone.
I mean, check out this comment from a Reddit thread. It pretty much nails it, right? Everybody's a little confused because, let's be honest, we use them interchangeably all the time. But is that the whole story? Not really.
Okay, so let's start to unravel this. And the first thing we have to admit is, for a long time, and even today, really, people have used these words to mean the same thing.
And look, this isn't some new mistake we're all making. There's really no hard and fast rule in everyday English. Even professional philosophers swap them around. The reason for this big overlap goes way, way back. So to figure this out, we got to go back to the source.
All right, time to put on our detective hats. We're going to trace these words all the way back to their roots in ancient Greece and Rome, because that's where we'll find the first clue, the little seed that grew into the very useful distinction we can make today.
Okay, so let's break it down. Ethics comes from the Greek word ethos. That means something like your individual character or disposition. Then you've got morals, from the Latin word mores, which is all about customs or what a society does. So, see that? Right from the start, you've got this little hint of a difference. One's about you, the other's about the group.
And here's the real plot twist in our story. So the ancient Greeks have this idea of ethos. Then along comes the famous Roman philosopher Cicero. He wants to talk about the exact same idea, but in Latin. He needs a word for it, so what does he do? He basically invents one, moralis, which he bases on that word mores.
And that, right there, is the source of all our confusion today. These two words were literally created to be synonyms, like identical twins. They were meant to mean the exact same thing. But over hundreds of years, they kind of grew up, drifted apart, and developed their own unique personalities. So where does that leave us now? How did these twin words end up with different meanings? Well, today, there's a really useful way to think about it, and it all comes down to one simple concept: the internal versus the external.
Let's start with morals. The best way to think about morals is as your personal compass. It's that internal guide that tells you what's right and what's wrong. It's totally shaped by your own life, your family, your culture, your experiences. It's deeply, deeply personal.
Now, ethics, that's the social rule book. It's an external set of rules that a whole group agrees on, like a code of conduct for doctors or lawyers or a company. These are rules that come from the outside, not from inside you. So let's put it all side by side. Morals, they're internal, they're personal, and they can be different for everyone. Maybe your personal moral code says lying is always wrong, period. But ethics, they're external, they're for a group, and they're consistent. A great example is a lawyer's ethical duty to a client. That's a rule every single lawyer has to follow, no matter how they personally feel about it. Okay, so this isn't just some boring word game. This difference becomes a huge deal when your personal compass and the social rulebook don't agree. When they point in totally opposite directions, that's when things get really messy and really interesting.
I mean, seriously, what do you do then? This kind of stuff happens constantly in the real world, and it creates some seriously tough dilemmas for people everywhere.
Here's the perfect example, the lawyer's dilemma. Their professional ethics, the rule book, says they have to give their client the best defense possible. But what if, deep down, their personal morals are screaming, this person is guilty and what I'm doing feels wrong? See? It's a head-on collision between their ethics and their morals.
Or picture this one. Imagine your boss tells you to bribe someone to get a contract. Every fiber of your moral being says bribery is just plain wrong. But hey, the rules of your job say you're supposed to follow orders. What on earth do you do?
When you're in a spot like that, there are no easy answers. Do you do something, maybe go to their boss or send an anonymous tip? Maybe even get some coworkers together to stop it from happening. Every single option is a huge risk. And it just goes to show how real that tension is between our own personal principles and the rules we're supposed to follow. So let's wrap this up. After all that, why does this distinction even matter? What's the main thing to take away from all this? If you only remember one thing from this entire explainer, make it this. Morals are your internal compass. Ethics are the group's rulebook. It's that simple.
And look, the goal here isn't to be a grammar nerd or win some argument. It's about understanding the two different forces that are always pulling at us, the internal ones and the external ones.
It just gives you a better way to think about those really tough moments when what you believe clashes with what the group expects.
So I'm going to leave you with one last question to chew on. Think about your own life for a second. Your job, your friends, your family. Can you think of a time when your personal moral compass was pointing one way, but the rules of the group were pointing in a completely different direction? What happened? And what'd you do? Thanks for joining me.